call this September 8th council meeting to order. Thank you all for being here and all you that are tuning in. And we'll get started with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Dear Father, we just praise your holy name, and we thank you for the town of Carolina Beach and for all that you've given us. We pray that you will put on our hearts and minds your holy will so that we could make the decisions that are best for our community and for its citizens. In your name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would like to recognize that we have former Mayor Bob Lewis in the audience, still serving our community. So thank you for being here tonight. Good to see you. And we'll move right into make a motion that we adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Nope.
Always look at you, Joe, Dan, for
Yeah.
that. Anybody else? Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll move right into our special presentations. WMPO will do a presentation. Miss Abby, good to see you back in Carolina Beach, now that you've moved up to the big city of Wilmington.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, members of council, for the opportunity to present tonight. In July, the WMPO board approved the final draft of our Cape Fear Moving Forward 2045 plan. And I'm here tonight to share the highlights of the final plan with you all. My presentation tonight is going to briefly just give a crash course of who the WMPO is and what we do. Talk about the plan development process that has been ongoing for the past 2.5 years. Talk a little bit about our final plan, and then finish it up with how we can all work together to support this plan. The WMPO was formed in 1978 when the Wilmington urban area exceeded 50,000 in population, which is the threshold for the formation of a metropolitan planning organization. We have a 13-member board comprised of representatives from our 10-member jurisdictions, as well as representation from the Cape Fear Public Transportation Authority and the NCDOT Board of Transportation. Our board sets the direction and policies of our organization. We're tasked, federally mandated, to provide transportation planning services to this region. We have a lot of responsibilities, but some of the biggest and most important are that we're federally required to provide a regional transportation planning process. We go about this utilizing what we call the 3 C's process, the continuing, cooperative, and comprehensive process. We have to update a metropolitan transportation plan every 5 years, which is the subject of tonight's presentation. We prepare an annual work plan for the region, and we coordinate with NCDOT on the prioritization and programming and development of the state's Transportation Improvement Program and our Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program. And then we also coordinate the activities of our board and committees. MPOs are federally required, and there is legislation that requires us to provide numerous tasks. As I mentioned before, one of those is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This has specific requirements, the first being that it must be a regional multimodal transportation plan that considers existing conditions of the region, demographics, and land use. Most importantly, the plan should heavily incorporate public opinion. Other requirements include the plan to have a minimum planning horizon of 20 years, be fiscally constrained, which means that the projects contained within the plan could realistically be afforded over the life of the plan. And then this document is the document the WMPO uses when we work with NCDOT to submit projects for prioritization and the development of the STIP and MTIP. As I mentioned previously, this plan development process for the 2045 plan has been ongoing for the past 2.5 years. It kicked off in December 2017. We worked with a citizen advisory committee, held extensive public outreach, and then developed the modal elements over the course of the following year. The next few slides, I'm going to step through these activities. and the Citizen Advisory Committee, or the CAC for short, worked together to research and incorporate new federal plan requirements that came about with the adoption of the FAST Act in 2015, and include 2 additional planning factors, and the inclusion of inner-city transit and tourism experts in the development of the plan. We also heavily considered existing conditions as well as future innovative technologies such as drones and automated intelligent vehicles. And then, of course, considerations for environmental justice.
What is environmental justice?
Well, it is defined as the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. This is achieved when the same degree of protection from environmental and health hazards and equal access to decision-making process is incorporated into the development of the plan.
Thank you. Much good, glad I asked.
Yes, very much. Yes.
We held a very extensive public outreach phase 1 in the very beginning of the plan development process. We utilized 2 tools to solicit comments and feedback from the citizens of the region on what they wish to see in their transportation system in the future. The first of these tools was a 17-question transportation survey, and we received just shy of 2,300 responses utilizing this tool. And then we also developed a public input map where the user could actually go into an interactive map and place a point on the location and leave a specific comment. We received 563 unique comments, and then this application also had the ability for the reviewer to like, similar to Facebook or Instagram. And so we received over 4,500 likes on those individual 563 public comments. So the Citizen Advisory Committee appointed modal subcommittees, 6 modal subcommittees, 1 for each mode of transportation we plan for in our region. The modal subcommittees were comprised of subject matter experts, WMPO staff, and members of the Citizen Advisory Committee. They were tasked with developing modal goals and objectives that laid the groundwork for project scoring criteria and the modal policies. Regional critical project lists were also developed, and they were compiled from 3 different sources. We took them from public comment, the WMPO's adopted transportation plans, as well as we coordinated with our member jurisdictions to make sure we were considering projects that were critical to your jurisdictions. The combination of scoring criteria and regionally significant project lists allowed for a ranked project list to be developed. So as I mentioned previously, the federal government requires that this plan be fiscally constrained. That means that we have to realistically estimate the amount of money that we could potentially see in our region over the life of this plan, so through 2045. FHWA requires that this be realistic, so it's based on historical funding sources. As much as we would like to say that in the next 25 years, we're going to see additional billions of dollars in our region for transportation projects, we don't have anything to base that on other than we wish to see it. So we worked with a consultant who researched the funding that we have received over the past 10 years in our region by mode, and we've projected that out to 2045. We estimate for capital funding, which is what we would utilize to fund new transportation projects, approximately $3.8 billion in future transportation funding. So with ranked project lists and an estimate of the amount of money we will potentially see over the life of this plan, we were essentially able to conduct a red line analysis where we stepped through our ranked project list, and once we ran out of money, we had to draw the line and stop the list. And anything that fell above the line is what we consider fiscally constrained. Whenever we talk about transportation and money for transportation, there's never enough. That's a fact, and I think everyone knows it. So another part of this plan was to consider alternative sources of transportation funding in the future. A gap of around $7 billion was identified between what we determined were regional needs in transportation over the next 25 years and what we forecast for money coming into a region for transportation over the next 25 years. We again worked with a consultant to research what other areas in North Carolina as well as the rest of the United States were using to fund additional transportation projects. The alternative funding sources that the board ultimately ended up exploring were the quarter-cent sales tax and sales tax for transit, vehicle license tax and for transit, vehicle registration fee, vehicle rental tax, a bicycle registration fee, transportation bond, and tolling. After forecasts and discussions, the board ultimately decided to just include the revenues from tolling, which would be for the Cape Fear crossing within the plan. But these alternative funding sources are still out there and still on the table. Again, because we had such a large gap in funding, we looked at other ways to utilize the existing transportation network we have over the next 25 years. There are really two different strategies, if you will, or groups of strategies that we looked at. Transportation Demand Management, which is TDM, and Transportation System Management and Operations, which is TSMO. Transportation Demand Management is the deployment of strategies to reduce congestion by the redistribution of trips over space and time. So examples of that are things like telecommuting, alternative work schedules, and utilizing alternative modes of transportation, such as transit, biking, and walking. The plan identifies 17 of these strategies with different time frames and difficulties towards implementing. And then the second is the TSMO strategies. The plan identifies and supports the implementation of 13 strategies. Some of these include things like access management, which is limiting driveways, for instance, additional turn lanes, bus pullouts, improved signage and lighting, etc. And those are listed up on your screens. So with the modal elements and the additional strategies, the financial forecasts, and the fiscally constrained project list developed, staff went ahead and compiled this into a draft plan, which was released for public review back at the end of February. We were able to hold 2 in-person regional open houses, but due to COVID restrictions, we were unable to hold the additional 3, one of which was scheduled for here. The public comment period, which allowed for citizens of the region to submit comments to the WMPO about the plan, was extended until May 15th. And then in early July, WMPO staff held an additional 3 virtual open houses utilizing Zoom to allow citizens of the region one more opportunity to submit their comments about the plan. In total, we received 113 comments from the public, and there were some staff comments as well. Ultimately, 3 of those comments led to minor changes to the fiscally constrained bicycle and pedestrian project list and the roadway project list. So in total, the plan includes 82 bicycle and pedestrian projects, 10 ferry and water transportation projects, 91 public transportation projects, 79 roadway projects, 7 freight and freight rail projects, and 28 aviation projects. So next steps moving forward. The WMPO is required to adopt this plan by November 18th, 2020, and plans to do so at their November meeting. As we move forward and prior to starting the development of our next plan in a few years, it's important that we all work together to support this current plan. We urge our members to consider this plan during development review, preparation of your CIP, as well as during your local plan development. Promote our initiatives, stay in contact with us, stay involved, and of course, when we get ready to kick off development of the 2050 plan in 2 years, get involved in any way you can. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Are there any questions? Abby, that's a great presentation, and I've seen it before. I know enjoy working with you on WMPO, and you guys are doing a great job for Carolina Beach. So is there any more questions?
Actually, I do have one.
Go
So,
ahead.
so I noticed bike and ped is a big piece of it. Do you guys talk to other bike and ped committees in towns?
Sure.
They're going?
Yeah, so we've remained involved with Carolina Beach's Bike and Pedestrian Committee. Have been coming down to those meetings, as well as the WMPO has their own Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, which is comprised of citizens and bike ped advocacy group representation from our region. So Cape Fear Cyclists, Terry Benji, Bicycle Foundation, etc. Have the opportunity to sit at the table, come to these meetings. We also coordinate with the East Coast Greenway Committee, etc.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Awesome, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Murphy, Parks and Rec.
We miss Abby, she quit us.
Oh, yeah, that was before you guys this time.
Yeah, she got
Abby used
promoted.
to work with Town of Carolina Beach.
Professional growth. Professional.
And Abby does
Understandable.
come to all our bike ped meetings before COVID, and she was there at all those and helped me a lot at the MPO, so thank you. Because we know Carolina Beach is your favorite.
Excellent.
All right, good evening, Mayor Pierce, town council members. It's good to be back for me. Obviously, most events have been either canceled or postponed this summer. As restrictions are starting to ease up a little bit more, we have some events coming up and some new events that are seeking council approval. So my first off, is the 2020 Surf Fishing Tournament, October the 16th through the 18th. So this is already an approved event. They are requesting discount Freeman Park day passes. So last year, they were given daily passes that they could sell to tournament anglers at half off the normal daily rate for that time of year, mid-October, which is $20 per day. $20 per day is the full rate in October. So Lanier provided them with a set number of passes for Friday to Saturday last year, changing the times from 1 p.m. till 1 p.m. the following day, and then another 50 for Saturday to Sunday, 1 p.m. to 1 p.m. Following the event, they returned the unused day passes to Lanier, along with payments for all of the passes sold. So, as you may or may not know, the ordinance has changed a little bit since last year. This used to be town manager discretion. This fiscal year, with the change of the ordinance, this is for council approval on discounts for parking. Mr. Gary Hurley is here from Fisherman's Post if you have any questions. He'll be able to explain how things went last year too.
I don't have any questions. Last year was a big hit. A lot of people reached out saying how awesome it was. So I'm 100% game for it.
How many fishermen? How many anglers?
Yeah, come on up.
Come on down.
Come on down.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. We've been right around anywhere between 500 and 600 anglers in that mid-October time slot, late October time slot. I am not anticipating that many anglers this year, in spite of all the conditions, but we certainly have been reaching out, and people are certainly hoping we're hosting it. We've done a number of boat tournaments this summer, albeit modified to be COVID compliant, and certainly we're prepared to do similar measures depending on the state of North Carolina, come mid-October. Most obviously would be on Sunday, we have the big dinner, the awards, the raffle, and that very likely won't be the case this year, in which case we would do a virtual awards via Facebook Live like we've been doing for the boat tournaments.
And how many years have you guys been doing this tournament?
I meant to look at that before I came in here. I
That's
can
been a
tell you
long
at least
time.
a decade.
At least since
Fisherman's
06,
Post
I
has been
believe.
doing
Yeah, I know it's been a long time. It's very successful, and a lot of our seniors participate in that surf fishing tournament because I know they are very passionate.
So we took it
About
over.
it.
This tournament's been lasting longer than Fisherman's Post been hosting it. I
How
think
about
it was before my time. Maybe it was even an island tackle affair.
I've heard that.
And then it was a seagull bait and tackle affair. And then when seagull sold, we waited a year. We loved the tournament. We loved covering it. And a year passed, and we waited for someone to pick it up. And when they didn't, you know, we felt strongly enough about the event that, you know, we wanted to take it under house, and it's, you know, it's a beauty. We love it.
Well, we're glad you did, and I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with Bruce handling all that. I don't, if that's a consensus.
No, we need council approval.
So you need us to vote?
I do.
Okay, I will make a motion that we give the town manager discretion as he sees fit, with a strong emphasis that he continue to do what they have done in the past, for the surf fishing tournament. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, do you want to, any kind of cap, or we'll work with this, but the ordinance does require y'all's approval on any issuance of parking passes. I think there has been some,
I mean, I don't think we have any details on what you actually need or requesting, so
It's
if
not
you
a
need us
lot
to
of
vote on that,
passes.
we'll take care of it.
I'm fine for you.
They're
Matt.
They're requesting 50% off daily passes for
fine.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Whatever you've been doing is fine with
Okay.
me.
That's great.
Excellent.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Gary.
thank you.
Appreciate it. So next up, we have a new event approval request. This is hosted by the Chamber. Pleasure Island biggest yard sale for one day only, Trash to Treasures, November the 17th. The setup will be similar to the Carolina Beach Market, and Greg's here to provide some additional info, answer any questions you have.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We originally had a animal event on November 7th, so we're trying to find something a little more COVID-friendly. And since the farmer's market's been doing very well, we said, okay, let's do a yard sale. And we'll have restrictions on what can and can't be sold within legal rights. We originally were going to go with having a band and having beer, but Fees 2.5 isn't quite getting us there. So we pulled that out. Unless things change, we'll come back before you, but right now it's just going to be a yard sale with some food trucks. And anticipating about 60 vendors, $25 a place for everybody. You know, everybody likes to clean out the attic, get things out there. We'll just have a yard sale. If it works well, we'll just make it into a regular annual event. We're trying to find, we got a golf tournament coming up. Some of you are participating in it. We're trying to find, our hands are tied by the governor and, you know, what we can and can't do. So we're trying to find different activities that we can do. So that's where we are.
So we're looking for
Great
council
idea.
approval for this new event, since it's a new event.
I'm fine with that too.
I
Same,
appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do we
right
need
now,
a
so
motion
far-
for that? Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the Pleasure Island Chamber of Commerce, what are we calling this?
Trash
Trash
to
to treasure.
Trash to Treasures event at the CB Lake. All in favor?
Aye.
Glad you guys are thinking outside the box and finding things that we can do.
We're trying.
That's great.
We might smash the party next time.
Thank you. Next, another new event seeking approval request is sponsored by the Island Men. It's a golf cart rally and fundraiser. Golf carts would be decorated for Halloween, meet at the Publix lot, which they already have approval for, parade in sets of 10 throughout a course in town to ultimately be reviewed by judges in front of the gazebo on Cape Fear. After judging, groups would travel to different restaurants throughout town to support local businesses. Mr. Bob Lewis is here also to add to that and answer any questions.
Well, come on up and tell us about it. Sounds like a lot of fun. Hey, Roy Lee, how are you? Good to see you guys. And thank you all for everything Island Men does for our island. You guys are
You ain't seen nothing yet.
great. We love it.
So the only thing that has changed a little bit from this slide here is they've moved up the time
Pretty good.
from 5 o'clock until 6:30.
Bird, are you doing all right?
And where will it go? What would the
Okay, we're going to cover almost every
Okay,
detail, and we
great.
gave you everything in our presentation. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time tonight. I'm Roy Lee Carter, current president of the Island Men and co-founder of the Island Men. And Bob Lewis is vice president and also co-founder of the Island Men. And we thank you for your time. The Island Men's a 501c3 charity located here on the island with over 100 members currently. And our mission is to help those in need on Pleasure Island while contributing to the overall quality of life of the community. The Island Men have been raising funds through various activities and giving back to the community for the past 7 years. Please see page 2 for the current year's budget, because the first question I always ask is, where does the money go? 100% of the funds that net funds that we raise goes back to the community.
So our objective with this particular event really was to really seek your approval today to hold this rally. We kind of moved the time up so it would be more during the day than it would be actually too late where they would be in the dark. We're really offering residents the pleasure and the opportunity to have a fun, safe family event and come out and have some fun decorating things. But at the same time, we're asking those people to come out the house, have some fun with us, and also do it while safely distancing and wearing masks. We're also following up those guidelines while supporting businesses on the island as we're trying to get people to come to the island, just not to stop anywhere, but basically kind of reviewing stand, and then they really just head out to 5 or 6 destinations we have set up where they can actually go out and have something to eat or whatever you want to do with the family. And we also hope to raise some money for our mission, and we've been deeply affected by the pandemic, as everybody else in the nonprofits have been in this town.
So the event's been run past Tim Murphy and the special event staff, reviewed it and approved our application for the event as long as we get council approval and all applicable regulations and laws are followed and adhered to. The event will be a parade format with a contest for best decorated, most spirited, most patriotic, etc., with prizes to entice as many golf carts as possible to participate. There are over 1,000 golf carts in Carolina Beach and over 300 in Curry Beach. No political themed golf carts will be allowed whatsoever. If you don't have a golf cart, we've already arranged with Dean at Sun Fun Rentals for a special weekend deal for those who wish to participate. And it's a heck of a deal, and also he's given us a lot of the proceeds donated back to the Island Men. Dean really supports the Island Men. We'll be gathering and leaving from the Publix parking lot, and pre-approval from the management of Publix has already been obtained. And we've already spent time in the Publix parking lot, planning it out, lining it off, seeing how we'll line them up, how many will go where, and Publix has given us a 100% approval. We'll encourage all to stay in their carts and do not gather in large groups so that we don't violate any of the large group gatherings. And the carts will be lined up so there's not big clumps of them together to begin with. We'll be leaving in groups of 10 to 20 with intervals between each one to ensure that there's spacing between the group.
Okay, and the rally basically is a special event, of course. But here's where we'll have volunteers from the Island Men at various locations, at various street corners to kind of direct traffic, and also at the same time, make sure no one gets out of the cart. People who are watching this will really be in their yards, watching it from the yards. So it's not going to be a central point where people are going to come to see this. There'll be people in their yards, staying within the yards. We're encouraging families also to get dressed up. We're telling them, why don't you bring your kids out, your children out, and get them dressed up, because we're telling people to dress up in a costume as well. And then as we roll past the boardwalk gazebo, we'll actually have judges. If there's any volunteers up there on the council, we'd love to have some people just for a fun event. We expect this only to be about an hour and a half, maybe a little over an hour and a half of driving through the neighborhoods. But at the same time, we're leaving distance so there are other type of traffic can also join between us to make it palatable for everybody to run this thing. Then we're also going out to about 5 different destinations, and if you read further through there, you'll see the Sea Witch, of course the boardwalk, we're having people stay at the boardwalk, Lazy Pirate, Hop Light location, over there as well to Stoke Restaurant, and then down to Vinny's and the Spot. So we're saying we're going to have groups of 10 or 15 carts, destinations, that's where you would end up going. Instead of having everybody together, we'd like to have this next year, we'd maybe stop at the gazebo, have a band and have some fun, but we decided to make it COVID related and or stick to the COVID types of restrictions.
All right, if you check pages 3 and 4, page 3 is a write-up of the event and the route, and page 4 is a highlighted route map. And we ran the route yesterday, and route only takes 33 minutes. So we're looking at, if we get approval, we might add a few more turns to it so that we get more houses exposed. If we get some additional help with traffic from the police, we've already agreed with the police for they're going to participate and we're going to pay their overtime. where we could get back out on Lake Park and go down toward Ocean and go through some of those neighborhoods as well. But there will be a $25 entry fee for each participant. And as always, all net profits will go back to our mission, which is helping those on the island. And I think what's most important to stress is that the Island Men, we've demonstrated that we know how to put on large, organized events in a safe and successful manner over the past several years. We have, some of our events have thousands of people there, and we've had no hiccups whatsoever. So this is an overview of the event. And at this time, we're asking for your approval. And are there any questions?
I was just wondering, how many participants do you expect to have, and would you cap it at a certain number to make sure it didn't get too long?
We've talked about up to 100,
Oh, wow.
and we actually think that we could have 200. That the initial response, I've just put teasers out there saying, we're working on this, we're seeking approvals. Everybody I talk to goes, that's great.
That
I
sounds
want to
like
do it.
fun.
Oh, can I rent them? I mean, a lot of them say, I don't have a golf cart. Can I rent one? And I say, matter of fact, we've made arrangements for that.
And any suggestions you might have is, you know, the route we took is just typical of like a 5K or 10K we had in the town. That's why we used it. But there are other types of streets we could actually hit and make this a 45-minute or 1 hour type of ride. We just didn't want to get on Lake Park too many times and
Right.
interrupt traffic in
Right.
the park. So it's up to you guys. If you want to make some suggestions, that's fine with us as well.
Question. It's the only question I have because I like the events, and I agree with Roy Lee. You guys pretty much have shown that you guys have run everything successful. You said you ran that route and it took 33 minutes. Did you space out 2 golf carts, the length of what you think 100 would be, to anticipate if it's 33 minutes for that first car, what the time is going to be for that last one? If it's, because each additional cart spaced out, say, 6 feet, you have anywhere from 100 to 200, that length is going to get a little bit longer. I have no problem with it running an hour and a half to 2 hours. I think it's awesome. I know we've done the bands, and those seem to be a really big hit, so that was my only question. I'm 100% for it.
Yeah, we've kind of factored that in. We actually ran the route in 25 minutes. So we kind of added some exec, and we had a couple carts, a number of carts together, but we ran in about 23 or 25 minutes, and we knew that we'd have extra time, kind of factoring that in. So it's actually pretty quick, but we think it could slow down more because we ran at about 15 miles an hour. Could roll down to 10 miles an hour as people are waving and whatever they want to do. We're not going to allow anybody to throw anything out, no candy, only because it's just not the great thing to do at this time. They can still get candy the following week when they go trick or treat.
So two things. First off, very supportive. Appreciate you guys doing this. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. Number one concern, and I don't expect you to have these now, but I always, when I see things like this, I always worry about the things people get a little over the top on the decorations, and then they put something in their cart that ends up under their brake pedal, and you know what I mean. These sorts of so hopefully when you guys, I'd ask you guys to think through
Breakdown.
you know, some of those things, like you can't block your field of vision. You can't, you know, whatever those comments, I think they're just kind of common sense, but lots of common sense
I agree.
things end up getting people in trouble sometimes. So that was one, and I have forgotten my second one.
Can I bounce off your idea where I think about your second one? Possible idea is a ride-along golf cart for the things that do fall off.
We do have that, and actually we have a little tow truck that Dean's going to let us use this little tow truck thing in case people can run, the batteries just can run out or something can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get those people off the road so nobody else is in, we're not holding up any other type of traffic.
Yeah, I just think.
We will have,
Go ahead, sir.
we will have leaders from the Island Men in the parade, leading sections of the parade, so that they can make sure things keep going at the same speed. It's all in the write-up. You'll see that we've thought this thing out and put a lot of detail into it.
How
So I
many?
think just that common sense things for those folks, just to make sure people don't get so carried away that they get in something they can't drive. The other one was when we had the mobile bands going around. One of the things that happened there, which was kind of cool, but it looked like it could potentially get out of hand, was you started having groups of bicyclists following those bands around. And then I know when they came by my house, it just kept getting larger and larger and larger. So I don't know how you deal with that. I mean, it's a public street. I don't know what you do about it, but but just be prepared for that, because
Okay.
I know you're trying not to have the big groups together. But other than that, great idea, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I think it's a great off-season event, which is what we're always looking for, and it sounds like fun. Do you know how many times you're crossing Lake Park Boulevard?
Twice. So we actually, we got to get on, we're going to get at the ABC signal, and then get on there. We get off at Harper, then we cross at Cape Fear at the end, and that's the only time. So we'd like to have we hope to have a police
Yeah.
officer both of those signals
Yeah.
during the event.
And that was whatever chief says
So
works
yeah,
best.
we talked about that extensively at the events committee meeting. The only thing that really came up is those two spots where they cross Lake Park. I had a meeting with Lieutenant Marcuselli later that day. He assured me that we can make that work, no problem.
The only question I have, first of all, I love it. I think it's going to be great for the community. Is are these golf carts going to be directed on what restaurant to go to?
Yeah, you're going to actually, you can pick out of the 5, but we're going to try and direct 10 to 15 at certain
Right.
places. Not so much at the boardwalk. We might have 2 big loads of carts there. They can go to 4 or 5 different restaurants there.
I could just see everybody ending up at one restaurant.
No,
What?
on the sign-up sheet that we have,
It'll have like where your final destination, or
where you
Okay.
want to pick,
Right.
and so that we can say, well, we have too many going there. you
Okay,
can pick
perfect.
somewhere else.
Some
And then
families will just go home. Because
Right.
we're going to have encouraged a lot of kids to be on the
Right.
thing, so.
The Island Men leaders that we have in the parade at the boardwalk will then direct them
Awesome.
And take them to
and
the
take them
restaurant.
to the restaurant.
And we'll have people actually at the restaurants with a table, thanking them, and then when we talk about who's going to win the prizes, who's going to win the awards, we're going to be calling from the judges stand to all 5 or 6 locations, say, here's who, we don't have to have the whole group there, listen to who's going to win,
Yeah, I love it.
okay? Thanks.
Anything else?
Any more questions?
Need a vote.
Need to vote, please.
Leanne, we need a vote.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion to rock and roll with this Island Man Golf Cart Rally and fundraiser October 24th, 2020.
Okay, motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Very
Thank
well.
you
Look
very-
forward
thank
to
you
it,
very much.
guys.
Mark your calendar.
We will.
October 24th.
That's what I was just checking.
If anybody wants to put their hand up to be a judge, we could use.
I got you, man.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Sure, man. All right.
Great idea.
That's it for me. Thank you. Any questions?
No, I think we're
Tim,
good.
is the rec center open for the hour?
The rec center open today. The hours are from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. On Saturday from 8 till 4. Sunday closed for the time being.
So that's a good question. Are you counting people as they
Yeah,
come in?
so what we're doing at the moment is we're limiting to 50 in our facility with 6 max in the weight room. We've taken half the cardio equipment from the cardio room and moved it into the gym. So today was our big grand opening. We're not allowing any guest passes at the moment, only members.
That's good.
So today our numbers were a little lighter than we anticipated, but I'm sure that as
No
things-
reservations, just,
No, we didn't
we
go
cut
with the
you off.
reservation system. We went with just 50 in the building
gotcha.
and 6 in the weight room.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim,
Yes, sir.
really quick, sorry to stop you.
No problem.
That waiting room, is it possible to maybe have a laptop set up there for the people who have not done the census yet?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we got a phone call from some folks at the census this afternoon that they wanted to set up a tent outside of our facility on Saturday. So we're going to have that at the rec center. I have to follow up with Bryce and see what the final say for that was with them. But they're going to set up outside. But I don't see why we couldn't,
Okay.
Mr. Garza.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
job. All right, so we'll move into the manager's update. What you got, Bruce?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That was one of the updates I had, so that took part of my updates away, so which is good. Tim did real well on that. The other updates I have, the efficiency study is wrapping up. They were on site here for a couple weeks, different consultants from different sections of it. They're wrapping up. We should have something here in the next few weeks, a report. And they will, I think if council wants, we may have them here to present it, but they're wrapping that up, so we should be done there. The only other thing I have is the police chief search. We're searching for Chief Spivey's replacement. The actual recruitment should start this week. We're waiting on a few little things. We met with the consultant on that, and we should have the final part of that ready to go this week, and then we'll start the process of narrowing it down to candidates and then going through interviews there, and I'll keep you updated on that. But that's all I have tonight.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Any questions for Bruce? Here, let's just fold these over and pass, or Kilby, you want to come? Where'd she leave them? don't you collect them?
Thank you.
If y'all wondering what we're doing a runoff vote for committees. We must have had some ties, I'm just assuming. Okay. Very important.
No, we probably all voted for the same people. And
I didn't, that's why I didn't want to see y'all. That's why I asked him to come get them.
Goes again.
That's why I asked her to come and get them so that we could not see each other's vote.
So Bruce, I do have a question. So when this study ends, what's that look like? Do we, I mean, who, do you guys in the room? Do we, I mean,
The efficiency study,
yes, sir.
I think it'll be a book with some just, or a report with some findings they found and some recommendations they're going to make. Some, on how we do operations. I don't know, it's not going to say you need to get rid of this position or that. I think it's going to say, here are ways you could improve your efficiency, provide better services. Here's some areas where we think you're not performing like a town your size should, or maybe you're performing better than you're doing really well here. So, I
So
think-
is that report internal, or is it?
no, it'll be a public document
Okay,
for,
thank you.
the council will get copies of it and we'll have it out for, for inspection.
Awesome, thank you.
So Bruce, I had a couple of things. One was, I think in the last council meeting, Councilman Shuttleworth had asked about engaging engineering firms on the lake dredge. Did we get any progress on that?
We've met and discussed coming up with an RFP for that. I've actually talked with 2 different engineers about what we're looking at. We haven't formally put that ad out there, but we will be doing that shortly.
But its wheels started moving?
Yes.
Good. And then the other thing for you, which I think is appropriate to do now, was just a question that came from a resident, but basically it had to do with the status of the Mike Chapel Park sign. They are saying that sign was damaged during Florence, and there's currently no sign along Dow Road that says.
I don't know. I'm not. Ed, do you know anything?
I know that the Parks and Rec has done inventory. I wasn't aware that was damaged during ECS, I guess is what you're saying, but I'll touch base with Eric and we'll work on it.
They said Florence, but I think they meant that.
Okay.
And then the other question on that, just as you guys look at that, Jay, that was one of the things that they had suggested that might be a beautification project by the park to get a nice sign or something like that. Just so anyway, it was a little out of context, but I wasn't sure whether that was a comment for open comment or a
Right.
question for you guys.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bearing with me.
Anything else for Bruce?
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So we will move into our public comment, and I don't know if there's anybody here in the public. I do have something to read. Does anybody out there would like to make a public comment?
I had one mailed
Okay.
to me as well, too. I was gonna read.
Okay, do you have one?
No.
I have one here that
Yes,
I need
have
to
a
read.
different one than that one that came right before the meeting. It's
Okay.
short.
Do you want to read that first?
I can.
Okay.
This came from, I think most of you know Chuck and Cindy Dunn.
Okay.
She just wrote, and this literally came right before the meeting, so I didn't even have time to print it out. She wrote, Chuck and I support council's discussion with NCDOT to reduce the speed limit on Dow Road and Ocean, to reduce the speed limit on Ocean to 35 from Spot all the way down, I'm just trying to read, all the way down to Dow, or at least to the town's pump station between Dow and the Greenway. And 3, to ask council to consider in discussion the placement of signage north and south of Mike Chapel Park along Dow Road, indicating that there's a park ahead, maybe encouraging, children playing kind of thing. So I'm reading into what she wrote. But anyway, she asked that I read that, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to do that.
Very good, and we can talk about that. And I have one that is also on the same comment of Ocean Boulevard. This is from Valerie and Paul Brockman at 206 Ocean Boulevard. We have lived part-time at 206 Ocean Boulevard, Carolina Beach for 16 months. We want to voice our concern for safety of pedestrians who walk along Ocean Boulevard. It is used as a main walkway for families and individuals walking to beach access number 4. With a large beach access at Ocean Boulevard and a well-defined walkway over South Lake Park Boulevard, it stands to reason that it is seen as a main walking and biking route for people to get to that beach access. The speed limit is too high on Ocean Boulevard. There should be more signage to drivers and pedestrians to share the road, yield to pedestrians, watch for traffic, etc. The most effective and most needed is a sidewalk bike lane with the crosswalk at South Lake Park Road. We understand the budget is very tight, but would ask council to look at this and try to come up with funding for a sidewalk bike path. This could be done in 2 to 4 block increments over years, starting with the beach access and continuing to the greenway. We had a terrible accident in front of our house in July where 2 pedestrians walking along the shoulder were struck and hit airborne into our yard and driveway. They were both lucky to be alive. A sidewalk and lower speed limit will not stop every accident, as there are irresponsible drivers and walkers no matter what the circumstances are. But we are sure that having some measures in place will make Carolina Beach residents and visitors safer as they walk on Ocean Boulevard. And that's, again, from Valerie and Paul Brockman. And we are going to move into a discussion about that a little later in our council meeting. So if you're listening, please stay tuned. We're going to have some discussions about Ocean Boulevard. So, and just so that I don't forget, it is on the bike ped plan to have a multi-use path on Ocean Boulevard. We're still looking at NCDOT approval and funding. Is that correct? Yeah, just for the public who may be listening that's concerned about that, that is on our bike ped plan. So, okay. So we will now move into our public hearings. So I'll make a motion to open our public hearing to consider adopting the 2020 CAMA Land Use Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This is a request to adopt a resolution for the 2020 Land Use Plan. This has, I guess it was 2018 in October when Council appointed a steering committee. They have worked hard on this plan, and they ended their review December of 2019, and now we're at the adoption stage for Town Council. It was reviewed by Planning and Zoning, and the timeline, it went to January 9th. Actually, Town Council wanted a joint meeting with P&Z to review the plan. From that meeting in February, P&Z reviewed it. We had public comment to present changes in March, and in June they recommended adoption of the plan after hearing public comment. In June of 23rd, at the workshop, we updated Town Council on those changes and where we were. July 14th, we had our consultant come down and have a formal presentation to review the plan. And at that time, Council wanted to have a public meeting at the lake for additional comments, in which we did. And we received a few comments, and a lot it was more just questions and that they had about the plan, and just more than anything, rather than changes that they would like to see. And now that brings us to September 8th at the public for this public meeting, which is advertised for public comments. The changes we did here at the lake, property owner with proposed connections on Hamlet and Lake Park Boulevard. One from the bike ped plan and the land use plan is reestablishing the connection of Woody Hewitt for a bike pedestrian connection where that was closed when the Marriott was built in 2002. So the property owner, instead of going through that property boundaries, we've essentially dog-legged it to the town property, where the intent is still within the plan of showing a future connection if possible in that area. The other change was we eliminated a specific proposed connection with the Carolina Sands neighborhood and Wilmington Beach area, just because there's a couple lots that are no longer available for any type of proposed connection. So the desire may still be there, but we removed any site-specific area. Reviewed the changes of the plan of the last council meeting. We have a motion to adopt a resolution to approve the CAMA land use plan, and it would be forwarded to the Division of Coastal Management for certification. They told us that probably could happen within 3 to 4 weeks. So now I'll answer any questions that you have.
I have none.
I have none.
It's been a good 2 years.
We have worked on this for, you're exactly right, about 2 years, and I know this was even before Councilman Healy was elected. We were all, us and Joe Dan, we were all on that committee, Land Use Committee, and we have been around and had lots and lots of public comment, so I think we're finally gotten to where we need to be. Is there any questions for Jeremy?
And Ms. Mayor, we will need to open up public comment for the record.
Yes, sir. Well, let's do that now. I'll make a motion to open public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on the Campbell Land Use Plan? Okay, I will close the public comment, and I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 20-2232 to adopt the 2020 Campbell Land Use Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good.
Jeremy,
Lots of hard work.
22 months.
can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Sometime this week, it'd be awesome if you could send an email out to everybody who's on a land use plan committee. Thank you for their time, because 2 years is a lot to ask of somebody.
Sure is.
And say, thanks for everything you put in and went through. We just appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank you.
It's where we train our new council member. Okay, Jeremy, keep going.
Yes, ma'am. The next item is to approve a preliminary plat for Hidden Hills Phase 2 subdivision. This is an existing subdivision off of St. Joseph Street, right before you get to the bend in Lewis Drive on the west side. The reason this is before you, anytime there's 6 or more lots is a major subdivision, and you're extending roads and utilities, and you're creating new lots, that is a function that has to be approved by town council, by the ordinance. In 2005, there was a 10-lot subdivision approved, and for plans to have Phase 2 eventually approved, and that time is now, which is a 6.5-acre tract highlighted here in the green area, which they like to subdivide. Here's just aerial view of it. There's currently 7 homes, with I believe 1 under construction now. That's out there. These are a large lot subdivision. Here is Oak Outlook Way, which is kind of the T, and the plans are to extend this road to connect to 6 lots in this area. Here is the subdivision plan for the extension of the road, proposed hammerhead. This area is in the R2 single family zoning district. The minimum lot size is 7,000 square feet, but the lots that they're proposing, the largest one is actually 73,000 square feet, and the smallest is 23,000. I was just shy of 24,000. So the design of the neighborhood subdivision will be extension of the existing right-of-way of 42 feet, and it will be a private road. They will be extending Oak Outlook Way, as I mentioned, 225 feet into a hammerhead. This was approved by for emergency vehicles, 40 by 120 feet. The pavement will be 22 feet in width. No curb or gutter is proposed. There are 2 existing fire hydrants in the neighborhood. None are being proposed or required. That is sufficient. The water line for the extension will go to 225 feet and then turn, and there will be some utility easements given to the town to create a loop system for the water line so that it doesn't dead end and you don't have any water quality issues. The sewer will also be extended to service the lots. Stormwater is, because of this, the lots are large in size and it's very low density. You actually get credit for stormwater for a low density development, and they do not have to put in a stormwater pond. There are wetlands on this property, but the development will occur with no disturbance of wetlands. So everything will be on upland for the homes. There will be, according to the ordinance, you do have to provide for lighting. There will be one light pole at this end of the subdivision. For landscaping, they are required to plant a street tree for every 50 feet. Sidewalks, in 2005, the council at the time recommended not installing sidewalks for this development. Since it was not required at that time, staff does not feel that sidewalks would be needed because they truly would be just sidewalks to nowhere. The property is on the fringe of the flood zone, but all of the development will be located up on high ground outside of the flood zone. Comments from Technical Review Committee: they will need to update their state stormwater plan, their sedimentation erosion control, and their water quality permits, which are all state permits. If they, in the future, if they disturb any wetlands, they will have to get permission from the Army Corps of Permits, or Army Corps for authorization. The ordinance does require to install a survey monument in the road to determine what the grade is. And also, there was discussions about future interconnectivity, if there was any possibilities from Oak Outlook Way, just 'cause to the south there is a large vacant piece of land, but the owner did not have any desire to do so just because this was a private road and private development. But that's something we did look at. This is a preliminary plat approval. With council's approval, this gives the green light for the property owner to start laying out the roads, doing the grading, extending utilities per town code. And then the final plat will be signed off on as to town specs, meeting the preliminary plat requirements. It's the ordinance. You have the option to approve the preliminary plat. You can approve it with conditions, or you can disapprove the plat. Before you is a motion to approve, and I'll answer any questions you have. The applicant and Freeman is the engineers here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
The only,
Any questions?
the only question I had was, you did, and I'm not suggesting this is improper, I just don't, it's more ignorance on my part than anything, but there was no additional fire hydrant. I assume during technical review, the fire chief looked at that, and I don't know what the spacing is needed or required, but I assume it met his.
It did, because they have one at the entrance to the neighborhood and they have one at the intersection, so that met the requirements.
That's all I have.
I do have one question, but it's more of a learning thing than anything else. So the application that I saw, he applied for a minor subdivision versus a major subdivision. What's the difference between the two?
This would constitute actually a major, because if it is 5 or less lots, then that is a minor subdivision, which, if they're not extending any roads or utilities, could be approved by staff.
If that's the case, he owes us money. I mean, he paid $350, and I guess the other one's $800. I mean, and that's the reason I asked the question, because I didn't know the difference between the two.
Any more questions?
I have none.
I'm good.
I'd make a motion to approve the preliminary plat approval for Hidden Hills Phase 2 subdivision.
Motion on the floor, all in favor? Aye. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll have our discussion about the speed limit on Dow Road, Notion Boulevard.
We'll get there. Mayor, Council, at the workshop, we discussed the speed limits on Dow and Ocean. Before you is the current speed limits and where they transition from 45 to 55 on Dow Road and 45 to 35 on Ocean Boulevard. What we've got before you tonight is a resolution to change those. DOT was supportive as long as we adopted a resolution and our law enforcement officers in Caroline Beach were willing to enforce the speed limit of 45. So 45 would go from the intersection of Dow and Lake Park down to Ocean, and Ocean would be all 35 under this proposal.
I'm in favor.
Okay, any discussion on it?
So,
Something we've talked about for certainly a long time.
You know, in talking, this has been, like you said, talked about for a long time. Most of the people I talk to, most citizens, especially anyone who frequents that area, the park, and that area back there, have been highly supportive. A few people don't like it. They don't like the change, but in general, I think it's neat. I think a majority of citizens support this move, and so do I.
the only concern I have, needless to say, is which I've talked about meeting after meeting, is the crosswalk at Harper. I mean, it's a concern because this doesn't solve that issue unless we install a blinking speed limit sign. The survey that came out on that road said we were going 54 miles an hour average. You cannot go 54 miles an hour and stop at that crosswalk. I'm sorry, it's extremely dangerous, and that is my number one concern on this road. I'm fine with the rest of it. I'm totally fine. And I understand about the 35 issue. I understand we can't do that, but.
So what would you do?
I would do, yes, it would have to be 3 different speed limits on Dow Road. I would do at least 40 to either Cape Fear or Spartanburg, and then change it to 45, personally. They have to have time to stop.
My recommendation would be at that location, a quarter mile on both sides, we added one of those signs that tells you what your speed is.
I'm fine
Because
with that.
that mentally is going to make people slow down when they see the pedestrian sign as well.
So Jody, and that was actually going to be my comment. When Bruce or Ed or Brian, whichever one of you guys are going to communicate with NCDOT, could we also make that request to get permission at the same time to add one of those? 'Cause Brian told me we had to have that permission to put that, what are we calling them, speed
It's just the radar.
radar?
Yeah, the radar.
I think one on both would be good.
Yeah.
And then if we could also add to the request some kind of signage that says crosswalk ahead or something. I think that would be appropriate on Dow Road and on Ocean Boulevard where the Greenway crosses.
Yeah, and if we could add to that, what Ms. Dunn suggested.
Right.
If there's any signage that you guys think would be appropriate around the park, just to let people know.
Park ahead.
that park ahead, whatever the proper signage is. If we have to request that, we may as well put it in the same.
I'm not sure
request.
what they're going to give us, but I think we should ask for it all at the same time.
I agree.
You know.
I know it's not a popular comment, but my question would be, what have we heard from Curie Beach? What did we reach out? Bruce, did you talk to them? Have we heard from the
We
mayor?
notified them, their clerk, and their clerk sent the council, there was some kind of miscommunication because they thought we were lowering it to 35, and they sent a response opposing the 35, but I believe when we sent the 45, when they realized we were only going to 45.
Yeah, I
didn't
think
get
I
anything else.
responded to that and explained it, but I don't think we got a response back that said, yes, we're in favor. I mean, they said 35, and I said that wasn't what we
Yeah,
proposed.
their 35 concerns were golf
Right.
carts,
Right.
part of it, in which we said, no, we're only going to 45.
So,
Okay. As long as we're communicating to our neighbors to the south, because this is we work together on many issues.
And I do have a question for Chief, if we could, or whoever appropriate person to answer, is just for the public. Yeah, I know some members of council have been through this before. When we lower speed limits, what is the procedure? What will the public see, assuming this goes forward? Is there like a period of time where there'll be warning signs or something? What's the process for them? Because I did hear from a number of people that, quite honestly, they were honest and said, "Oh no, I'm going to get a ticket for sure." And so how do we work them into this
Some are gonna get
enforcement?
6 months.
Someone's hollow.
Or you throw one of those
So
electrical
typically,
signs that
when
says,
they
"Hey,
change
2
the
weeks."
signs, a lot of times you'll see these flags off the signs with the high vis orange or high vis yellow that signals people to look. New speed limit has been adopted, and that'll stay there for a month or two. At the same time, law enforcement would be out doing enforcement action, but that enforcement action would be education. So there would be a period of verbal warnings, getting people to pay attention to it, using the mobile radar trailer, maybe using and deploying some of the stationary radar signs for a period of time to really just concentrate new speed limit, slow down, and give that period of learning. Then after 6-8 weeks, then it would become part of the regular process where we monitor many of our streets and roads in town for violations. And still, that's officer discretion. So that's how that would normally play out.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
I think that was a concern. People assume the worst. They assume we're just going to change the speed limit tomorrow.
Yeah, and Chief, I know,
Get in there.
we're not looking to have a speed trap. We're not looking to ticket a bunch of people. We're looking at, like you said, educate.
Compliance.
And, yeah.
If the police department never had to write another ticket, we would have a completely
That's right.
compliant neighborhood, community, and that's the goal.
That's
We ran into the very same thing. You remember when we changed the speed limit at the bottom of the bridge to 35? That's the exact same process we use there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And that's one of the most effective things I've seen as a driver is when you know what your speed limit is, when you see it flashing in front of you. That's, for me, it puts me in check, too.
Yeah, do we recall what the cost of those were? I know anybody rough number?
$6,000, I think.
That sounds
I think
like.
they may have been less than that, Jordan. We got misquoted one time on it. I want to say they might have been like 1,500 or 2,000. There wasn't that much. They were not what we thought they would have been. Because some neighborhoods asked if they could put one up if they paid for their own. We had a
Neither
couple
was
of
our
those questions.
lifeguard stand,
What's that?
our ocean rescue building wasn't what it thought it was either for cost.
So are there any more questions? If not, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 20-2231, resolution supporting the reduction of the speed limit on Dow Road from Tarboro Avenue to Ocean Boulevard to 35, and on Ocean Boulevard to Dow Road to Spot Lane to 45. Did I say that right?
I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
So it's 45 from Tarboro to Ocean, 35.
Gotcha,
from
okay.
Dow to.
I'll let you correct that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Healy, you have the floor.
Yes. I want to talk about making a motion to approve the mural in the front of the town hall. Before I do that, I want to talk about it a little bit. They have gone from a size difference. As you know, it's going to be the Carolina Beach postcard. They've gone from 16 by 32 down to 8 by 16, so it's going to be a lot smaller than first put out there. It takes 3 weeks to paint. The installation is taken care of by two builders that we have in town, local builders. Maintenance will be taken care of. The money is in the reserve to take care of that piece. It's already received great press by WECT in Port City, even before things been approved, which is, hope that doesn't come back and bite me.
Good luck.
So, right now, they have 43 people, 43 residents that have signed up to help paint the mural, which means that they're standing there with the artist, and the artist, they participate in actually painting the mural, so it's a great community project. So, any questions?
So I think at the last meeting, we were talking about some sort of rendering or something that showed what that, I know you're asking an artist to paint something, but,
Right.
which is not an exact science.
I think you're saying it's subjective. We
Right,
really
so-
don't know what, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just asking, have we gotten any changes or further down on what it would look like?
It's basically it's going to look like the Carolina Beach postcard, but it's going to be dated to to today versus, it's like, we're gonna have men in the postcard. We're gonna have authenticities. I mean, it's gonna be an up-to-date
So you're
postcard.
bringing it to 2020.
We're bringing it to 2020.
All right, Steve, go ahead. I
No,
see it
go
all
ahead.
over your face.
No, you can't see anything on my face. I'm wearing a mask.
Maybe I'll just read your mind. Any more comments?
So I'm in favor for it, but I've also heard it's probably been out of everybody I've heard from, it's probably a third of a handful of people just out loud would probably not speak up against it, but are against it. Me personally, I'm for it. I think the only idea I would throw into the mix is that I'm pretty sure roughly every 4 or 5 years it's going to need to be upgraded, with maybe a caveat to saying, hey, maybe that image switch up and change, or just something. If there is enough of a spark up that says, hey, we're not for that sign, or what
I mean, that's definitely feasible. I mean, this committee plans on doing 2 to 3 murals a year. It's very well organized, and, you know, I think Joe Dan brings up a good point. You know, if we put it up there and the public doesn't like it, it's extremely easy to take down. All I'm asking is for us to put it up there.
And I'm certainly willing to give it a shot. It's something we haven't done. I think it would be a good idea if you would coordinate with Bruce and just, you know, let him look at what you're doing as it goes. And if you say we want to have, I mean, I don't know, I hate to even say it, but we want to do this person, this ethnicity, and this, and we'll just make sure,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, I would say make sure Bruce, you know, feels like it is representative of something on town property.
Understand.
That's my only concern. I like art, and I think if you want to do murals on private property, that's fine. But when you start mixing public property and long-term maintenance
Right.
and the image of the town, you're just going to open up a conversation that not everyone's going to be in the same place. And I understand art, and sometimes art is supposed to evoke a response.
Right.
That's fine. But when we are supporting it as a public body, I think you're going down a slippery slope and a dangerous road when you start. I just don't think it's appropriate to start putting together, you know, if you want to have a sign that says "Welcome to Carolina Beach," fine. But once you start changing that and making it an artist concept of different, you know, whether it's people or animals or whatever it is, you're just going to run into conflict. And I'm for that reason, I can't support that. I like the idea of the art and I like the idea of the murals, but I think when you're in public property and you're representing the town, it's precarious at best.
So this committee, they had long discussions on this piece, and we felt that a welcome to Carolina Beach postcard is extremely inviting, you know, especially with the placement where it is now versus where it was going to be. So we found it very pleasant, quite frankly.
Jay?
And I would think if you want to have a pleasant pastel-colored postcard type sign that says "Welcome to Carolina Beach," that's great. But once you start adding anything other than the text to it, you're going to be in less than a neutral position. And government, if
Art
they're not in a
is
neutral
subjective.
position.
You're talking about the peoples.
Talking about
right.
people,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if you're gonna put manatees on it or sea turtles or
Right.
people, you're just gonna evoke non-neutral position in government. In today's society, people don't want government coming down one way or the other. Everything we've seen for the past year has been divisive. And I know you say, oh, how can it be divisive to put a postcard up of a bunch of people? Trust me, it's gonna be divisive. I don't know
So,
what it looks like.
just to Steve's comment, and I know you think, and Steve's being very honest. I mean, and I've been doing this, 6 or 8 years now, and Steve, I think you're 8 or 10 years. It's been easy for us to see politically what will explode or could have potential to explode. So I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it's a cool, neat idea, but just know that if it becomes a problem, we may have to move it.
Understand.
Jay?
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I am.
One last thought, and I'm not sure if anybody from the committee has thought about this, but maybe even somewhere on the bottom, a simple phrase can help divert some of the thoughts. And a simple phrase is just as simple as uniquely diverse. It encompasses a lot. I know that we're going to get a lot of things from both sides. We're a growing community, and we open arms to pretty much everyone here on this island.
I will recommend it.
And I will ask that you have the committee, or you as a representative, just work closely with Bruce and make sure he doesn't think you're going somewhere that is going to be hard for the town,
Absolutely.
you know. So, sorry, Bruce, we put a lot on your shoulders, but that's why we have all the confidence in the world in you. So,
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the mural in front of the town hall.
we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
That is 4 to 1. Motion passes. Oh, do I get to read this? Is this why you brought it to me? Good Lord. All right, so we're going to move into committee appointments. And our town clerk usually does this, but she has given me the honor tonight of all these new appointments. And I know you're all listening, so here we go. So our new committee members on Bike Ped will be Ricky Neese. On Board of Adjustments, Wayne Hartzell and Patrick Boykin. Freeman Park, Alex Torres and Christina Lopez. Marketing Committee, Brad Bradley, Tom Yearling. Parks and Rec, Duke Hegstrom, Alex Torres, Danielle Kurtz, and Maureen Lewis. Planning and Zoning, Wayne Rouse, Deb LeComp, Ethan Crouch, and Todd Piper. Police Advisory, George Aker, Amanda Amat, Joe Benson, Arthur Hughes, and Police Advisory, Scott Cornelison. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. But so congratulations, and thank you for everybody that applied, and congratulations to everybody who is on our new committee. Did I miss something?
Yeah, you said police advisory on the last one, that's operations.
I'm sorry, Operations Advisory Committee, it's Scott Cornelison. So thank everyone who applied, and apparently it was a pretty tough call here tonight because our town clerk had to ask us to do a tiebreaker on a couple of the committees. So, but you will all receive some information from Kim Ward on your next meeting, and I don't know when our next in-person meeting will be. Bruce, have we talked about that at all for committees?
I think with the new phase 2.5, you can have meetings up to 25 people indoors. I think we're on track to,
Okay.
if they want to meet, they can,
And-
or if they prefer to do it by Zoom, they can do that too.
And can you remind me, if you know, when is the governor's next? When does 2.1 end again, or to be addressed? Or 2.5?
I don't know if he announced the next is 2.5. I know he extended the, extended something October 2nd. I'm drawing a blank on, but the 2.5, I don't know, he didn't announce an end date, but I think we'll be in that for a while.
Okay.
You know, Mayor, if I could add in as well, the planning board will meet this week, and we would just request that we use the current board until we can get some training for the new members, and then we'll move to the new board in October.
No, very good. I agree, it certainly needs to have some training. So.
And then I'd just like to add on the slate of candidates for this. I mean, it really took some time. There was a lot of people and a lot of very talented people that applied. You know, for just sometimes there were 6, 8, 10 people for just a couple of spots. But I would encourage those people who didn't get chosen. All those meetings are public. You are more than welcome to attend. And most of these meetings I've been in, if you show up, you'll get to participate. You don't get to vote, obviously, on voting items, but they would love to have you. So if there's really something you're passionate about out there, press on.
So that's an interesting comment that that Lynn makes about showing up for the meetings of the committees you're interested in. Because the reason I voted, and I won't say which ones, for 2 of the people on this list is because I knew they were attending the meetings, because I'd met them at the meetings and they were well informed about what was going on with that committee. So I chose them for those reasons. So just a comment on that.
Since we're talking about committees,
Sir?
maybe we open up the conversation of saying with phase 2.5, maybe October we go into seeing about face-to-face meetings and see how that pans out.
Yeah, I think we could maybe shoot for October. We can, let's see, this is our September meeting, so we can maybe talk about it at our next workshop.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I think we should ask those committees, though, to start planning, to start resuming again.
You know, Kim, that might be a good thing for you to reach out and ask the chairmen to ask their committee, are they comfortable meeting in person now? And they may, I mean, I don't want to ask them to meet and then nobody show up.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get a poll from each committee.
Right, that'd be good.
Wonderful. So I just put my agenda up. Are there any non-agenda items?
The only one, did I ask this one already? I don't think so. The only one I had was around, there was discussion a while back about tandem golf cart parking, meaning two golf carts in one spot. This came up on social media, and then I was asked by a citizen to ask, so I'm asking. And I know we talked about that, and we talked about allowing that, but I'm not sure, was that ever implemented? Is that allowed? Can two golf carts occupy one space, or are we ticketing that? What's the rule?
We do have some. There's actually one right out front here on the side where it's marked off where you can have two. I don't know how many we've put throughout town, but we do have a few.
But can two, in a standard parking place, if me and my buddy are going to eat and we can get into one space, will we be ticketed or not? I think that's the question.
Right.
Leniency from the near.
If you park and somebody parks behind you, then no, that you can park in one space like that with a golf cart, and it's really up to them if you don't want to block somebody you don't know in.
Right.
But yes, if you're with somebody else, you could do that.
Right. Okay.
And there's an example out here if you look at the side of the building where we have one marked off.
Okay, just to play it safe, can we make sure Lanier's on the same page?
Yes, they helped us mark the places, but yes.
That's good. That was the question, I think.
Okay, actually, I have a couple of things. One is we have a possibility as the town to lose our wheelchair access mat. They're trying, they have a meeting tomorrow to see if they can change some laws, but it's a possibility we could lose that forever. And the reason I bring it up is I think it's important that our citizens know this and that if you're in favor of it, which I don't know how you can't be, to reach out to your state representative and push this piece. This is extremely important for the handicapped. I mean, they come to this town from miles and states away to take advantage of Carolina Beach because we have this mat. Personally, I would just hate to see it go away. So that's one thing.
So James, taking that up, I mean, who?
This is Kevin Murphy.
No, but I mean, within state government, who's?
Fish and Wildlife.
Is it Fish and
Yes.
Wildlife?
Fish and Wildlife is opposed to it because of the turtle nesting in front of the boardwalk area. It's a limited area where those mats are at, so I know that Kevin's reached out to a few people. I know the mayor and I've reached out to a few elected officials, our state senator and our state representatives, and they're trying, and I know Kevin's working both sides of the aisle to try and get Fish and Wildlife to allow those mats, and the ruling is that it's more of it's a permanent structure, and they're only supposed to be temporary, and how they take them down, and they have done a fantastic job getting those done, and the island men help them put them down and take them up. They've worked with the Parks Department. It's Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
And you need to reach out to your elected officials and tell them to, they can write a scoping deal that would allow Fish and Wildlife to get them some relief. I believe we asked for some information on exactly how many turtle nests that had occurred in that 2-block area, and I believe it was only 2 or 3 in the past 15 years, and I'm trying to remember who we asked, Leanne, but we did ask someone to go back and get that information, so that it's not a huge impact, and that's what they're falling on is the turtle habitat and nesting period. So Jay's absolutely correct. You should encourage everybody you know to reach out to their elected officials at a state level and tell Fish and Wildlife to cut us a break.
Right. Thank you, Steve. And needless to say, I have a census update. We're at 38.3. Joe Dan, I love your idea about setting up a booth or a tent at the rec center. That'd be fantastic.
I'm confused on the census issue. I filled it out online within a week and a half when it first happened. I've now had 2 people visit my house and ask me to take the census. I've received no less than 6 in the mail.
Right.
So it gives me great confidence in mail-in voting when I've already filled it out. So I don't understand if we're, are they getting accurate reporting? Because I asked the people that knocked on my door, I said, do you realize I already filled it out? Nope,
Right.
your name's on the list. I'm like,
It's not the first time I've heard that.
I got 6 of them in the mail.
Right.
That's interesting. I got none.
If you could fill all 6.
Crazy.
Yeah, I did mine online and it was smooth.
I did mine online, it was smooth.
And nothing, I mean, I
Mayor
got
Pro
the-
Tem Hilly did not mean that.
No, I did not. Of course I did not. It's ridiculous. And the other thing that came up, and from what I understand, this was talked about in the past, is the elimination of plastic bags. I know I sound extremely green tonight, but
Yeah.
so
Just like the Hulk.
a resident did reach out to me and asked me to bring it up, but I understand has this been tackled in the past?
There's a legal, isn't there something in the legal landscape at the state level that doesn't allow us to do that, or?
We don't have enabling legislation in
That starts
order
with
to
state.
ban plastic bags. You do have littering ordinances that you can enforce, but we don't have enabling legislation on plastic bags. There was enabling legislation for one coastal county in the state of North Carolina previously, but that has now been rescinded. So it's a legal issue.
How about our smoking on the beach, Madam Attorney? Where are we at with our enabling legislation to allow us to ban smoking on the beach? That was the very first thing I brought up when I got elected 8.5 years ago.
We have an ordinance that says when the state of North Carolina gives this town or all towns the ability to regulate that, then we are ahead of the game.
Thank you very much.
So you're saying we cannot regulate plastic bags or smoking on the beach at this time?
But we can
We
regulate
have an
signs.
ordinance on the books right now for
Okay.
smoking on the beach that says that it becomes effective the day that we have enabling legislation from the state of North Carolina. The plastic bag legislation is not, we do not have enabling legislation. We do have the ability to enforce our litter ordinances, but not ban the bag, which was what was discussed previously.
So my question is, if we have something that's preparing us now for if there is no smoking, can we go ahead and start that for the plastic bags now as well?
Sure.
What you're saying is get something.
It'll
on the
just
books.
say it's not
Something on the
effective.
books that
Yeah.
says if the states pushes that way, we're
You
in.
can certainly have a campaign.
We had a plastic bag study committee that came up, and they came up with several different opportunities, not the least of which you see at Food Line these days, and now I see Publix is doing it, but they have them, and the town has bags available. The Island Women put bags available, and it was more of a voluntary thing, and then the state said if you're going to charge people for plastic bags, then you have to have an education policy, and we can't charge you 2 cents for a plastic bag, every bag you use, unless we have some place for the money, and then the question is who has the right. So it got very complicated. They weren't looking at saying you can't use plastic bags. It was more of an education process to encourage people. So yes, Jay, we should probably revisit how we can continue to educate our public and work with a lot of our different shop owners. And you see it with our 2 major groceries are really encouraging reusable bags. But a lot of the small shops didn't feel they could do it. And I think that's where up in the Outer Banks they ran into some problems and to-go orders. But it's an education process, and anything we could do to help that would be great.
Okay.
So you might be green, but it's okay.
I have a comment
Green?
since we're
I
on
like green.
smoking, and I don't know if Attorney Fox or Bruce, if you have an update on this, but I know that the New Hanover County Health Department had encouraged banning all smoking and as well e-cigarettes on public property.
Yep.
And I know the county commissioners were going to vote on that. Has that happened?
They did not vote to approve it. I don't even know if they put it on their agenda. So I think it's gone back to the Board of Health. They've called a meeting. I saw that published today. I don't know if it's on the agenda, but it's my understanding it's going back to the Board of Health.
I'm sorry, it went
It's going
back.
back to the Board of Health.
They did not vote on it, Leanne.
They didn't vote.
Kinda
Okay,
like
you know I
giving,
can't hear.
Kind of like giving Bruce the ability to give away the passes.
Okay.
The commissioners kicked
So
it back to the Board
if
of Health.
that were to get
Very
approved, that would also affect us here in Carolina Beach?
The way that it was drafted, the answer to that is yes, which was part of the problem.
Okay.
So, yes.
Well, let's keep our eyes on that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we'll know what's going on. Okay, anything else?
I had one, the inlet, Carolina Beach Inlet. The Corps has been working on a realignment of that channel. Nature has really set the course for that. And so Leighton had sent us some information, and Dennis Barber, who's the chair of the Beach and Inlet Ports and Waterway Committee, I asked Dennis his take on that because Leighton had asked, and Dennis said it's a good thing. Nature's been moving that channel to the south in a more of a straight trajectory, and what that would mean for us is an easier dredge, more ability for side cast, more space to do it, and less of a dog leg. Most of the boat captains that frequent it on a regular basis, they already know what's going on. Visitors or weekend boaters are gonna, over time, they'll see it. It's just a natural channel. It's a great thing. It should help. Dennis said he looked at it. So if you hear any of that, that's what's going on. It's not something we did. It's something Mother Nature and then the Army Corps of Engineers. That's all I had.
Anything else?
I do have one other thing. I just want to thank our police department for the way they handled the hostage situation. That had to be trying. That had to be a tough ordeal, but it was handled with class, and great job.
Agreed.
Good job, Chief, as always, and please tell your officers what you heard tonight, and so we thank you guys for keeping us safe. Anything else? All right, guys, well, looks like we have an early night, and I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?